You know what's funny about this whole war? Lieutenant Commander Alex Reynolds leaned back in his chair aboard the USS Defiance, staring at the holographic starscape floating above the console. Chief Engineer Daniels didn't even look, up from the console he was working on. "Let me guess, the part where the alien emperor thought we'd just roll over and die?" Alex chuckled. "Exactly that. Classic mistake." Daniels smirked as he made a few final calibrations to the ship's new quantum displacement field. "Happens to the best. 5,000 years of crushing resistance tends to make you cocky." "Too cocky," Alex muttered, taking a sip from his chipped coffee mug. It's still red earth, mostly harmless. An old joke, but now it was starting to feel like a prophecy. The Coralaxian Empire had ruled the Orion Arm for millennia, with mandibles of steel and an ego to match. Their strategy was brutally simple: show up, issue a surrender demand, and if the target planet hesitated even a second, rain hellfire from orbit until only ash remained. It worked. Over 300 times. Then they met, humans. On board. The Coralaxian dreadnought Inevitable Dominion, Grand Marshal Zach Vraz observed Earth from high orbit. His compound eyes gleamed as the blue and green sphere turned slowly below them. "Assessment?" he asked, his voice a series of harsh clicks. "Primitive," replied Science Officer Grethel. "Limited space travel, no shield tech, kinetic weaponry, some nuclear capability, no threat to us." "Proceed as usual," Vraz commanded, antennae twitching in anticipation. The Empire's protocol never failed. Overwhelm with presence, demand, surrender, and if resistance showed, annihilate. Back on Earth, the United Nations Security Council was mid-meeting when the signal hit. Every screen, every frequency, every single device on the planet lit up with the same message. A tall insectoid alien with obsidian armor and twitching mandibles filled the screens. "I am Grand Marshal Zach Vraz of the Coralaxian Empire," the metallic translator boomed. "Your world is now subject to Imperial dominion. Surrender your autonomy and you will live. Resist and you will cease to exist." Silence followed, and then chaos. The American ambassador muttered, "Did that overgrown cockroach just threaten to wipe us out?" "I believe that's exactly what happened," the Chinese ambassador replied coldly, already pulling up secure protocols. Secretary General Voloff didn't flinch. "Get me the heads of every major military power, and someone find me every scientist who knows anything about giant space bugs." Half a world away, Lieutenant Commander Reynolds was on shore leave in New Zealand, hiking. No comms, no mission, just sky, trees, and peace. That peace shattered when every device within 50 miles lit up with the alien broadcast. He froze, mid-step, as the Coralaxian ultimatum echoed from his phone, his watch, the emergency beacons nearby. "Well, shit," he muttered, already turning back toward civilization. His vacation was officially over. Earth's response was not what the Coralaxians expected. Instead of panic and surrender, humanity rallied. Nuclear forces were placed on high alert. Satellite networks repurposed into makeshift defensive platforms. Military forces mobilized worldwide, and the world's best minds, engineers, biologists, physicists, hackers, were brought together in a single place, Geneva. The United Earth Defense Council was born overnight. Among the scientists flown in was Dr. Emma Larson, MIT's leading xenobiologist. She stared intently at Coralaxian footage, piecing together theories. "Insectoid," she said to the generals, "likely evolved on a high-gravity, high-radiation planet. Thick exoskeleton, multiple sensory systems, likely electromagnetic and pheromonal in nature." "That's fascinating, Doctor," General Williams cut in. "What's their weakness?" Larson gave a thin, knowing smile. "We're working on that, but yes, they have them. Especially if we act fast." The Coralaxians, meanwhile, were confused. The deadline had passed. Earth hadn't responded. No surrender, no negotiation. "Have they not received our transmission?" Grand Marshal Vraz snapped. "They did," his comms officer replied. "They're ignoring it." Vraz's mandibles twitched. "Then begin the orbital bombardment." Around Earth, the Coralaxian ships moved into attack positions, weapon systems powering up. It was the same pattern they'd followed 100 times. But this time, the pattern was about to break. At the UEDC, radar picked up the movement. "They're preparing to fire," said the technician. "Activate Operation Mosquito," Volov ordered. Across Earth, radio telescopes, towers, and newly constructed acoustic emitters came alive. A signal, invisible to human senses but devastating to Coralaxians, was broadcast globally. It was a mix of electromagnetic pulses, infrasound, and synthetic pheromones, tailored to the aliens' own biology. On the inevitable Dominion, Grand Marshal Vraz clutched his head in agony. His crew collapsed, screaming in frequencies only their own species could hear. Their exoskeletons vibrated violently, overloaded by stimuli. "What is happening?" Vraz gasped. "The humans—" Grethal choked. "They've weaponized our senses." And that was just the beginning. "They've weaponized our sensory systems." That phrase echoed through the chaos on board the inevitable Dominion. Grand Marshal Zach Vraz couldn't believe what he was hearing. Humans, those backward, ground-locked mammals, had found a way to use the Coralaxians' own biology against them. His vision blurred. The pain was overwhelming. All around him his officers were collapsing, their mandibles spasming, exoskeletons rattling. Entire bridge crew was writhing on the floor, unable to speak, think, or even breathe properly. The command structure, so rigid, so precise, was unraveling like wet paper. Back on Earth, Dr. Larson watched the satellite feeds with sharp eyes. "It's working," she whispered, almost in disbelief. The data confirmed it. Coralaxian formations were scattering. Their dreadnoughts were drifting. Precision was gone, replaced by raw, uncontrolled panic. General Williams didn't waste a second. Phase 2, now. Lieutenant Commander Alex Reynolds, now fully recalled and in uniform, stood on the Bupai bridge of the USS Defiance. This was humanity's ace in the hole, a stealth warship equipped with an experimental quantum displacement drive, unproven, untested, absolutely insane. "Are we really doing this?" Lieutenant Zhao asked from the helm. "First time for everything," Alex replied with a half-smile. "Engage displacement jump. Prep boarding team." The Defiance shimmered, then vanished from its position, near Earth's moon. Moments later it reappeared, right next to the Coralaxian flagship. Its hull, coated in a metamaterial mesh invisible to alien sensors, made it all but a ghost. "Position confirmed," Zhao reported. "No detection." "We're inside their sensor blind spot." "Send the team," Alex ordered. 20 elite soldiers, geared in advanced armor designed to withstand Coralaxian energy weapons and environmental extremes, teleported directly into the enemy's command center. They didn't waste time. The doors blew inward. Sonic pulse weapons, fired, tuned to alien frequencies. Coralaxian guards collapsed screaming, unable to even aim. Grand Marshal Vraz stumbled to his feet just in time to see something he had never witnessed before in 5,000 years of war. Enemy troops inside his command center. The lead human stepped forward, gun raised. "Surrender your vessel," he said, in fluent Coralaxian. That was the moment the Grand Marshal knew. It wasn't just that they'd boarded his ship. They'd cracked his language, his biology, his defenses, his empire. Lieutenant Commander Alex Reynolds stood face to face with the alien leader Viceroff. "I'm Commander Reynolds, United Earth Defense Force." He smiled coldly. "And you're having a really bad day." In less than 6 hours, humanity had gone from first contact to full counterstrike. The inevitable Dominion was secured. Its command crew incapacitated or imprisoned. Every Coralaxian system was being downloaded, studied, reverse-engineered. Alex paced the alien bridge, studying the data specialist Lee had pulled from the ship's archives. "You need to see this," Lee said grimly. Alex looked up. A map hovered in midair. Star systems, thousands of them, all under Coralaxian rule. This wasn't their first conquest, not by a long shot. Lee nodded. Hundreds of civilizations, erased, colonized, enslaved, and they've already sent another fleet this way. What? They expected Earth to be routine. "One more trophy." Alex activated his comm. "Reynolds to Earth Command, we have a situation. In Geneva, the council received Alex's report. The mood turned from triumph to dread in seconds. "This was just the first wave," General Williams muttered, staring at the holographic star map. "And the real fleet is still coming." "How long do we have?" asked Secretary General Volov. 3 weeks, Dr. Larson answered. "Maybe 4. Depends on their FTL travel time." But there was a silver lining. "We've captured their tech, intact," she continued. "Weapons, propulsion, communications. If we move fast, we can reverse engineer it. The Chinese." Ambassador leaned forward. "You're saying we can catch up in 3 weeks?" "No," Larson replied. "I'm saying we can leapfrog them." The next 3 weeks became the most intense in human history. Every lab, every factory, every scientist working 24/7. Quantum displacement drives were improved. Correlaxian weapons were redesigned for human use. Their communication systems broken, analyzed, and hijacked. Earth was no longer just defending itself. It was preparing to hit back. Alex Reynolds was promoted to commander of the newly formed First Contact Response Unit, a force made up of elite soldiers, engineers, and rogue scientists tasked with one job: be unpredictable. He explained it in the simplest way possible. They outgun us, in a fair fight. So we don't fight fair. And with that, the Defiance, now fully upgraded and renamed the HSS Liberator, set off on its first offensive mission. Destination: Proxima Centauri. BA Correlaxian Forward Base. Alex leaned over the tactical screen. "They've never been attacked before," he said. Ruiz, his XO, glanced at him. "What's the plan?" Alex grinned. "Show them how humans wage war." The Correlaxian outpost on Proxima Centauri B had never seen combat. Why would it? The Empire had conquered everything in its path. No one dared to strike back. Until... Now from orbit, the outpost looked insignificant. A few research domes, a relay tower, minimal defenses. Because it had never needed more. The HSS Liberator exited displacement just beyond the system's outer edge, cloaked in silence. Inside the bridge, the crew was laser-focused. "They haven't detected us yet," said Lieutenant Zhao at the helm. "Still running routine scans." "Good," Alex replied. "Let's show them what routine looks like when humans flip the script." He gave the order. "Fire." Hybrid missiles, a fusion of nuclear warheads and Correlaxian energy focus arrays, launched from the ship's belly. They hit the outpost before the aliens even knew anything was wrong. A blinding explosion lit up space. "Target eliminated," reported Tactical Officer Hassan. Not even a distress signal got out. Alex stared at the screen. 1 down. 17 to go. Over the next 4 days, the Liberator became a phantom, striking Correlaxian outposts across the local sector. It would appear out of nowhere, unleash devastation, then vanish before retaliation could begin. Relay stations, fuel depots, logistics hubs, all gone. But it wasn't just about destruction. It was psychological warfare. The Correlaxians, long used to being the hunters, were now the hunted. Alex stood over the holographic table in the Liberator's war room. "We're not just hitting targets, we're sending a message." Ruiz raised an eyebrow. "What message?" Alex's eyes hardened. "Your turn to be afraid." Back on Earth, preparations continued at a frenzied pace. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock. The Correlaxian technology was powerful, yes, but outdated. Their greatest strength had become their greatest flaw. "They haven't innovated in centuries," Dr. Larson explained to the Council, "because they never had to. They rely on brute force, predictable tactics. We can exploit that." And humanity was already doing it. Using the captured comm systems, human cyber teams were feeding false data into Correlaxian channels. Phantom fleet movements, fake rebellions, dummy signals that scattered their attention across the stars. Confusion spread like wildfire. Entire divisions of the Empire began moving based on fake orders. For a race that worshipped structure and chain of command, chaos was poison. At the edge of the Sol system, the Correlaxian colonization fleet arrived. It was massive, 12 capital ships, dozens of support cruisers, and enough ground troops to occupy a planet in days. At its head was Imperial Executive Kiars, a veteran of 1,000 conquests. He looked over the sensor readings, his mandibles clicking in frustration. "Why are the support relays offline?" he demanded. "Unknown, Your Eminence," his tech officer replied. "All regional outposts have ceased transmitting." "Sabotage? We don't know." He narrowed his eyes. "We're walking into a battlefield blind, which is exactly what Alex Reynolds wanted." On board the Liberator, the crew received word. The fleet was inbound. "Time to say hello," Alex said grimly. But this time they weren't going to attack head-on. They were going to vanish. The Liberator dropped off the grid, slipping into displacement space, a twisted corridor of non-reality that only their hybrid engine could access. They emerged behind enemy lines. Again, their target, Rael 6, the Empire's largest shipyard. The beating. Heart of the punitive fleet, they hit it like a thunderclap. Sabotage drones, hacked construction bots, implosion warheads smuggled in via displacement relays. The entire shipyard went up in a chain reaction. The fleet wasn't just surprised, it was crippled. 30% of their ships destroyed before launch. The Coralaxians didn't know it. But they had already lost the war before it even began. At the Imperial throne world, the Emperor himself rose from his throne as reports flooded in. One human ship had caused this. Sabotaged their shipyards, hijacked their communications, sent propaganda to subject worlds. "This is unprecedented," he whispered. His war minister bowed in shame. "They're using some kind of quantum technology, untrackable." The Emperor clicked his mandibles, agitated. "One ship has torn open the skin of an empire. For the first time in 5 millennia, fear crept into his voice. On dozens of Coralaxian-controlled worlds, rebellion sparked, inspired by human broadcasts, encouraged by hacked transmissions. Slave species rose up. Garrisons were overwhelmed. They had never been taught to expect resistance. They had never imagined this kind of war, and leading it all was one human, Alex Reynolds, the joke of a species, now the face of a galactic uprising. The Coralaxians had come expecting submission. Instead, they got a storm. 3 weeks after Earth's first strike, Alex Reynolds stood aboard the Liberator, staring at the growing list of victories. 23 Coralaxian worlds had fallen, not to conquest, but to rebellion. Broadcasts from Earth, translated into every subjugated tongue, had spread like wildfire. "You are not alone. Resist, and we will stand with you." It worked. Slave species had overthrown garrisons. Coralaxian outposts had been seized. Command lines were shattering. The punitive fleet, still reeling from the destruction at Rael 6, shipyards in flames. Reinforcements delayed. For a moment it felt like humanity had done the impossible, but then came the message from Geneva. Alex stepped into the holographic conference chamber. The faces of Earth's leadership flickered into view, all grim. "Commander." "Reynolds," Secretary General Volov greeted him. "Congratulations on your victories. You've bought us time." "But not enough," added Admiral Williams. "We've intercepted new transmissions. The Coralaxian Emperor has recalled forces from across the Empire." "He's going all in," Dr. Larson said quietly. Alex stiffened. "How many ships?" 1,000 capital class, said Williams. "Maybe more. With support vessels and ground units, we're looking at the entire weight of the Empire." Alex's jaw clenched. "And our fleet." 200 ships, Volov replied. "Mostly reverse-engineered tech, many from recently liberated worlds still recovering, outnumbered 5-1. And that's when they brought it up. Project Prometheus, the doomsday option." Dr. Larson didn't look proud when she spoke. "It's operational, for real this time, not like before. Prometheus was a quantum resonance cascade generator, a weapon designed not to destroy one ship, but all Coralaxian ships, all at once. It would ripple through their communication network, targeting every signature, every vessel, every base. Total annihilation. But, she warned, we can't guarantee containment. There's a chance the cascade could rupture space-time in the process." Alex stared at her. Meaning? Meaning we could win, and still destroy everything. The room went silent. Alex didn't want to believe it had come to this. They had come so far. They had done the impossible. But now the Empire was ready to throw everything at them. No hesitation, no restraint. And Earth had two choices: face impossible odds and likely extinction, or detonate a weapon that could kill billions and possibly unravel the galaxy's physics. Neither felt like victory. "We need a third option," Alex said firmly. "There isn't one," Williams growled. "There has to be," Alex insisted. And then the thought hit him. What if we reach the Emperor directly? The room stared at him like he'd gone mad. "You want to talk to him?" Volov asked. "Not talk. Offer." "Offer what?" Dr. Larson asked, genuinely curious. Alex turned to the schematic specialist Lee had been refining. Innovation. He pointed to the hybridized Coralaxian human technology. Weapons, drives, shield systems. They haven't evolved in centuries, but we have. Fast. What if we could offer them that evolution in exchange for peace? "You think he'll listen?" Williams said skeptically. "After we've humiliated him?" Alex gave a tight smile. "Maybe, because we're offering what he's never had, a way forward. The plan was insane, that much everyone agreed on. They would use the Liberator's advanced stealth systems and displacement drive to breach Coralax Prime, the Empire's throne world, the most heavily defended planet in known space. But they had one advantage the Empire never accounted for: unpredictability. Dr. Larson, Daniels, and the rest of the First Contact Response Unit had studied Coralaxian routines, psychology, infrastructure. Their entire security was built on cycles and patterns. During the 3-minute guard rotation inside the Emperor's private wing, there was a temporary blind spot. That would be their window. They would quantum jump not just into orbit, but into the Emperor's private chambers. Daniels unveiled the final tool, the quantum shadow, a device that would temporarily phase their team out of sync with reality, letting them pass through walls, barriers, even time-locked vaults. 3 minutes, he warned. Then we're solid again, wherever we are. "If we miss the window?" Ruiz asked. "We don't," Alex said simply. The night before the jump, Alex stood alone at the viewing port of the Liberator, Earth a distant star behind him. Ruiz approached, silent for a while before speaking. "You really think he'll listen?" "I think he has to," Alex said, "because if he doesn't, we both burn." Ruiz didn't argue, just nodded. "You always were insane," he muttered. Alex cracked a small smile. "Yeah, but it's the insane that got us this far." Next morning, the Liberator phased into position. Orbiting Coralax Prime, unseen, undetected. Alex checked his gear one last time. 3 humans, 1 Emperor, and a galaxy's future hanging in the balance. He activated his quantum shadow and vanished. For a race that prided itself on absolute control, the Coralaxian throne world was quiet. Too quiet. But silence was exactly what Alex Reynolds needed. The quantum shadow activated and reality shimmered. He, Dr. Emma Larson, and Specialist Hassan stepped forward, their bodies slightly out of sync with time and space, intangible shadows phasing through walls like ghosts. They passed through defense grids, shield barriers, sealed gates. No alarms. No resistance. They weren't even there yet, not technically. Daniels had been right. For exactly 180 seconds they were invisible, untouchable, unreal. And then they stopped. The private chamber of Emperor Visiktraz, the most secure place in the entire Empire, was right in front of them. Alex reached into his gear. His displacement timer blinked red. 10 seconds. They stepped into the room. The Emperor stood by a massive console, reviewing holographic battle updates. His towering form gleamed under the crystalline lights, mandibles clicking softly in deep focus. Then he froze. 3 alien figures, human, flickered into solidity right before his eyes. No one had ever done this. Not once in 5,000 years. No enemy had ever reached him. No being had dared enter this room uninvited. And now they were standing 10 feet from him. Alex bowed slightly. Calm, collected. "Your Imperial Magnificence," he said. Commander Alex Reynolds, Human Alliance. I believe you've heard of me. The Emperor's mandibles twitched violently. How did you... His voice cracked from shock. Alex gestured to the room around them. Let's just say we've become... difficult to predict. How trespass in the heart of the Empire? The Emperor snarled. Is this an assassination? If it were, Alex said coolly, we wouldn't be talking right now. Dr. Larson stepped forward and activated a small projector. A floating schematic appeared in mid-air. Correlaxian technology, but different, improved. The Emperor's mandibles paused. His eyes flicked from the projection to the humans. What is this? Your future, Alex replied, if you're willing to. Listen. For nearly an hour, the humans laid it all out. How they'd analyzed Correlaxian technology, how their scientists had broken the Empire's comm systems, upgraded their engines, reworked their shields. Larson showed the redesign of the quantum fold. Driver 30% more efficient, triple the range, half the energy. The Emperor was silent, watching, antennae twitching with curiosity, pride battling horror. Impossible, he muttered at one point. We've refined these systems for centuries. Alex stepped closer carefully. You refined a dead end, he said, because you never had to do more. You were too strong, too dominant. But now, he let the silence speak. You're telling me, the Emperor finally said, that you want peace? After all this? After you've invaded my shipyards, turned my people against me and threatened to destroy my fleet? Alex nodded slowly. We want survival and growth, just like you. But there's another reason. He gave the signal. Larson brought up the last hologram, Project Prometheus. The Emperor leaned forward as he studied it. His compound eyes widened. You were bluffing during our first encounter. Not anymore, Dr. Larson said quietly. It's built, it works, and if your fleet attacks Earth, it will be activated. The Emperor stared at them, his breathing heavy, every sensory organ twitching. You'd destroy my empire. We'd destroy your ships, Alex corrected. Your empire could survive if it adapts, and if I refuse, the Emperor hissed. Alex's voice dropped. Then the war ends one way or another. Maybe you win, maybe we do. Either way, billions die, but we both know something worse is coming. He played the intercepted sensor data. Strange signatures, approaching from beyond the galactic rim. The Emperor went still. Alex looked him in the eyes. You ran from them once. Now they're coming again. But this time you're not alone. Not unless you choose to be. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the Emperor's voice came low and slow. You have brought chaos, shame, collapse, and now you bring opportunity. His eyes met Alex's. You have given me something no species has ever offered in 5,000 years. He paused. A choice. Then the chamber shuddered, the quantum shadow destabilizing. Larson checked her device. We're out of time. Alex stepped back. Your Magnificence, we await your answer, and peacefully, on neutral ground. The Emperor tilted his head. You have made me rethink everything. That alone is a victory. As the trio vanished, in a ripple of displaced space, the Emperor of the Correlaxian Empire stood alone in the silence, watching the last shimmer fade, and for the first time in his reign, he didn't feel angry. He felt curious. 3 months later, the Alliance of Free Worlds was no longer a dream. It was real. Humanity, former Correlaxian slave species, independent colonies, even Correlaxian reformers. The galaxy had changed, and it started with 3 humans stepping into the throne room of an emperor. That meeting didn't end the war, but it rewrote the script. The Emperor delayed his fleet, disbanded the punitive mission, opened diplomatic channels, not with words but actions. Earth had earned more than survival. It had earned respect. And now, on a bright morning in Geneva, a historic summit was about to begin. Alex Reynolds stood by the massive windows of the Interspecies Diplomatic Center, dressed uncomfortably in formal attire. His reflection in the glass looked more like a politician than a soldier. Commander Ruiz stood beside him, adjusting her own uniform. You nervous? I'd rather be back on the Liberator getting shot at, Alex muttered. From above, the Correlaxian diplomatic vessel was clearly visible, a massive silhouette in Earth's orbit, descending into view like a dark star. Shuttles broke off from it, descending toward the complex. Dr. Emma Larson joined them, data pad in hand. Everything's in place. The Emperor's personal envoy is landing now. Alex nodded. Let's make some history then. The hall filled quickly. Coralaxians, humans. Dozens of species that had once hidden in the shadows, now sitting side by side. On stage, Secretary General Volov opened the summit. Beside him stood Imperial Executive Kars, once a commander in the Coralaxian fleet, now their ambassador. Alex looked across the room, his eyes locking with Kars's. The alien's compound eyes blinked once, then he gave a subtle nod. Respect. Then, the unthinkable happened. A communication officer rushed in, whispering into Volov's ear. The Secretary General's face changed, concern overtaking pride. He turned to the key personnel in the room. Commanders, scientists, step into the chamber now. Inside the war room, the holographic display showed what no one wanted to see. Hundreds of ships, unknown design, unknown origin, descending from beyond the galactic rim. They aren't Coralaxian, said the human sensor analyst, but they're fast, coordinated, enormous. Dr. Larson stared at the data, her voice almost a whisper. This isn't first contact, it's a return. All eyes turned to Executive Kras. He was silent for a moment, then spoke, his voice grim. There are old stories, from before the Empire, stories we were taught to forget. Of what? Alex asked. Of who we were running from. A chill swept the room. You're telling me, Ruiz said, your whole empire was built on fear. Chris nodded slowly. We thought we were safe. We were wrong. The room went quiet again as the full implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just disrupted a tyrannical regime. They had unknowingly reawakened something older, something worse, something coming back. Outside, the summit still continued, unaware. Inside, the new war council had already formed. Alex leaned over the console, watching the movement of the unknown ships. They're 6 months away, said the analyst. 6 months, Kras echoed. That's all? Volov looked around the room. Then we have 6 months to become the galaxy's first real alliance. We're not ready, someone said. We never were, Alex replied, straightening. But when were we ever supposed to be? Larson smiled faintly. It's not about being ready, it's about being together. Ruiz placed a hand on Alex's shoulder, and leading the dance. He smirked. Yeah, he said. Time to cut in. As the meeting ended, Alex walked back out, into the sunlight. The sky was clear, but he knew the darkness was coming. This time it wouldn't be just Earth. This time they would all stand together. Humans, Coralaxians, former slaves, outcasts, enemies turned allies, because if there was one thing the last war had taught the galaxy, it was this. Humanity was never the joke. They were the wild card, the spark, the threat, and maybe, just maybe, the hope.